Welcome in everybody to my 10 takeaways from week 3 of the 2021 CFL season. I'm really excited to get into today's video, but really quickly before we get started, if you want to support the show, the best way to do it is by hitting that like button and subscribing to Ozzy's Huddle for more CFL content just like this. I appreciate all the support, and with that said, let's get into it with number 1. Greg Ellingson is the key to the Elks' success. So the first couple weeks of the season, Greg Ellingson, who has the most career receiving yards of any active receiver in the league, wasn't being used as a featured part of this Elks offense. They bring in Darrell Walker in the offseason, who is a really proven star receiver in his own right, and I think that's really taken away from Ellingson. They haven't really found that right balance between targeting Ellingson and using Walker, and through the first couple weeks, they were really heavily leaning towards using Walker, as evidenced by week 2, where Walker got a bulk of the targets and Ellingson only got 1 target. Now in week 3, they really made it a point of emphasis to really target Ellingson in this attack, and it made all the difference in the world. Trevor Harris was a lot more comfortable. He had a couple throws that, he may have wanted back, especially one bad interception, but I think overall Trevor Harris had a really good game, and I think a lot of it has to do with Greg Ellingson, his trusted receiver for the last 5 years or so. He had 9 catches for over 140 yards. He was just a dominant player in this game, and the main reason why this offense was able to consistently move the chains, there were a couple drives where it was just like every play they were just targeting that matchup with Greg Ellingson, and I really am in favor of this. I think that he is such a crucial part in making Trevor Harris feel comfortable in the offense. This is an offense that Trevor Harris has been in going back to his time with Jamie Elizondo in Ottawa, and a big part of why he was successful in Ottawa was because of Greg Ellingson's production. So that is why I think that going forward, Ellingson is such a key piece for this offense. I think that, he is really the X factor. He fits Trevor Harris's playing style a lot better than Darrell Walker does. Darrell Walker, he can do a little bit of that all-around receiver kind of stuff, but he is best used as more of a deep threat receiver with a few like hitch screens and stuff like that sprinkled in. Not your all-around route runner like Greg Ellingson is. And I think that going forward, they need to find the right balance between Walker and Ellingson. If they use both of these guys correctly, I think this offense could reach new heights. And we'll have to see how it goes going forward. But I think Ellingson, getting him involved, is the key to the Elks' success on offense this season. And it was very clear in week 3. Number 2, Edmonton is still BC's kryptonite. So the Elks really wore down BC in the trenches throughout this game. You saw it early in the game. BC was able to gain some momentum, but throughout the game, the line play just clearly favored the Elks for the most part. BC's offensive line, again, is having troubles after injuries to their 2 starting tackles, Riker Matthews and Joel Figueroa. It's really starting to affect quarterback Mike Riley again, as he hasn't been able to step into his throws. But what was really disheartening to me was that final drive where Edmonton has the ball and it's a 1-score game. If BC could just force a punt there, they would have had a chance to go drive down and win the game. Instead, Edmonton's offensive line and running back James Wilder took over, ruthlessly picking up first down after first down to run out the clock. BC looked very much like a finesse team late in this game, like they did in 2019, where they have all these perimeter talented players, great secondary, great receiving core, but they're just losing the physical battles up front, and they're not giving their quarterback enough time to throw. They're not stopping the run at a high rate, and that's just not a recipe to come back in games, and that's really concerning going forward for BC, in my opinion. Number 3, Calgary's supporting cast stepped up. Obviously, with the injury to Bo Levi Mitchell, and the team facing a potential 0-3 start, the Stamps had their backs against the wall going into Montreal in week 3. Rookie quarterback Jake Maier had several shaky moments in his first career start, which is honestly to be expected. But what was really impressive to me was how the rest of the Stamps stepped up. They really upped their game after a horrible couple of weeks to begin the season. A couple of guys who really stood out to me, who made really big plays, were wide receivers Markeith Ambles and Richie Sindani, who came up with incredible plays in key moments to really create plays, especially Markeith Ambles, who made a lot of plays after the catch and really helped his quarterback juice up that stat line a little bit. So I didn't think Maier was all that impressive in this game. I thought it was more the receiving core making big plays for him, and that's exactly what Calgary needed to get back into the thick of things this season, get their first win of the season. And it was just a great performance, I think, from Calgary's surrounding pieces. We'll see if Mayer improves going into this week, but I think that having these supporting pieces, the wide receivers, the offensive line looked a lot better. Bryce Bell, rookie, second-round pick this year, starting at right tackle, looked very good. So I think if those guys continue to play better, Mayer has a shot to take this team on a run if he can clean up those bad decisions that he was making in this game. So I think that was really the difference I saw from Calgary in week 3, more so than the quarterback play. I'm really excited to see what Calgary does going forward, going into week 4. Number 4, the Alouettes missed a golden opportunity. Man, Montreal really blew it in week 3. The team looked so great the first game and a half to start out the season, but the team really unraveled over the course of the game against Calgary. What really stands out is the 16 penalties for 149 yards, with a lot of these being post-play, undisciplined kind of penalties. The team lost control of their emotions and really weren't tackling well on defense, which led to a lot of big plays for Calgary after the catch. With a win, Montreal would have been 2-0 with a chance to firmly establish themselves as the team to beat in the East going into a huge game against Hamilton in week 4. Instead, they are 1-1, and that game against Hamilton looms as even more important to this team's success this season. Number 5. Vernon Adams will bounce back. Vernon Adams Jr., as well as most of Montreal's offense, didn't have their best day Friday night in Calgary. He completed only 20 of 42 passes for 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pair of turnovers. Those turnovers both came deep in Calgary territory and really hurt the Alouettes' chances to win that game. However, even on one of Adams' worst days, he still showed the qualities that make him such a special talent at the CFL level. There were several plays where he made something out of absolutely nothing with his legs and attacked the defense down the field. Ultimately, at the end of the game, they were right there knocking on the door with a chance to win on the final play. Vernon needs to be more accurate than he was in this game, that's for sure, but I have little doubt that he'll bounce back going forward. Number 6, Ryan Dinwiddie called a masterful game. This was apparent really from the jump in week 3 as Toronto's rookie head coach creatively used motion to generate quick strike passes for Nick Arbuckle early on. As the game went on, they began losing the battle in pass protection, but Dinwiddie adjusted by attacking down the field to expose Winnipeg's coverage. Just a great combination of play calls all day from the young head coach, and he definitely gets my vote of approval after seeing what he's done the first couple of weeks. Week 2, he had a bit of challenges creating offense against Winnipeg, but that's to be expected. Winnipeg's such a great defense, but he adjusted this week and came up with a great game plan, really made his quarterback comfortable, and I think that is just such a great sign for this team going forward. Even though I'm not completely sold on the quarterback situation of this Argos team, I really do like Ryan Dinwiddie. I think he's a great play caller, and I think it was just a great game that he called in this one. Number 7. The Bombers finally felt the loss of Andrew Harris. I really enjoyed watching Saturday's exciting game between the Argos and the Bombers, but I think where the game was won was how each team countered each other's pass rush. Toronto did a much better job of doing that than Winnipeg, in my opinion, and I think a major factor in that was the absence of running back Andrew Harris for Winnipeg. Harris is just as valuable as a receiver as he is as a rusher, in my opinion, and that was sorely missed by Winnipeg in this one. His incredible ability to take a short check down and break tackles in space is an invaluable asset for this offense, which doesn't have very many good intermediate receivers. Winnipeg has gotten some good production out of Brady Oliveira, but he doesn't give the team much in the receiving game in comparison to Harris. Bottom line is, I think Winnipeg wants Harris back as soon as possible. I think he just gives this offense so many more options, makes Zach Collaros a lot more comfortable, takes a lot more pressure off this offensive line, and I think this was really the first game this season that we've seen that absence really felt for Winnipeg. Number 8. Matt Nichols needs better offensive line play. Week 3 was much of the same as week 1 for the Red Blacks offense. The team did manage to score its first touchdown, but that was about it as they only managed 10 points against the Riders. Once again, Matt Nichols was running for his life, and the ground game was again ineffective. This is despite the fact that the team opted to start 3 American offensive linemen this week. Both tackles really struggled against the Riders' ends, and the interior was again bull rushed all game. If they don't provide better blocking up front, it's just about game over for Nichols, who is just about the least athletic quarterback in the league. When he did get decent protection today, he actually did connect on a few nice passes and generally looked healthier than he did a few weeks ago. But it looks like he's fighting an uphill battle with this supporting cast, and he's just not a guy that's going to elevate this team around him. I think he needs a good support system, and the Red Blacks just don't seem like they provide that right now on offense. Number 9, Canadian Air Force 2.0. It's absolutely absurd the Canadian talent that the Rough Riders have compiled at the receiver position. Already this season, we've seen the breakouts of previous draft picks Mitchell Picton and Braden Lenius. The latter of the two clearly has legit star potential in my opinion. But in week 3 against Ottawa, we saw Jordan Williams-Lambert, an American receiver, go down to injury, which led to 2020 4th round pick Keon Schaefer-Baker getting some opportunities. And man, did he make the most of it, coming up with some huge plays in the second half. That's without even mentioning their second rounder from this year, Terrell Jana, who many thought was the best receiver in the draft, as well as first rounder from 2019, Justin McInnis, who has been injured. Back in the late 2000s, the Rough Riders had a group of very talented and productive Canadian receivers that was nicknamed the Canadian Air Force. It looks like this team is trying to replicate that formula in 2021, and it's hard not to like what you see if you're a Rough Riders fan. Number 10, the year of the upset. So, if anybody's been following my weekly picks, they've kind of been a disaster so far. I'm only 5-7 on the season. But honestly, when you look at some of these guys, the CFL.ca expert predictions, they're just as bad as me, so I'm not feeling too bad about it. But if you look at the trends so far this year in terms of, when you look at the betting spreads and whatnot, the underdogs are winning straight up almost every game. In week 1, the underdogs were 3-1. In week 2, they were 2-2, so a little bit more even. And then in week 3, again, they were 3-1. So overall, straight up, underdogs are 8-4 against the favorites so far this season. But what skews that is the fact that the Rough Riders have 3 of those wins as the favorites. That means underdogs in every other game that doesn't include Saskatchewan are 8-1 this season. So, wow, it's been pretty crazy. It's been pretty insane so far this season. It's been super unpredictable, as a lot of people that are trying to predict every week's games are finding out. And, I'm just along for the ride. I'm really enjoying this. I don't really care too much how wrong my predictions are. I think it just makes it more entertaining to talk about. I think that, obviously, having these exciting outcomes, it just makes it more interesting for the discussion around the league. And I'm just really excited to see how it plays out going forward. But that is going to be the end of today's video, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. Once again, my name is Jason. If you want to support the show, the best way to do it is by hitting that like button and subscribing to Huddle for more CFL content just like this. I appreciate all the support. Be sure to let me know in the comment section what you took away from week 3. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.